Alright, so now we're going to take a look at how to color correct our images using a very easy and very effective method that's really going to allow you to quickly and accurately correct your color each and every time here inside of Photoshop. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to revert this file using File, Revert, or you can simply hit F12 on your keyboard. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set up some different points here on this image to determine exactly where my black point, white point, and neutral gray points are on this image. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to come down here and grab the eyedropper tool. And the first thing I need to do with the eyedropper tool is I need to change the sample size. I'm going to change it to 3x3 average, just so when we're sampling here on this image, we get a nice averaged area that we're selecting from. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to the adjustment layer icon and I'm going to select curves. Now when I do this, I'm not going to make any tonal adjustments to the image, but rather I'm going to train the curves dialog box to work well with my color correction method that I'm getting ready to show you. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to double click right there on that black eyedropper tool and I'm going to enter in some new values for this black. I'm just going to add in 3, 3, and 3 into the RGB values. And what that's going to do is just kind of lighten up those blacks just a little bit, because I don't want them at exactly 0, because that means wherever I set my black point in this is going to be completely black. And we don't want it to be solid black. We want it to be just a dark, rich color. So I'll go ahead and add in 3, 3, and 3 for the RGB values there, and I'll go ahead and click OK. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to double click the neutral gray icon in the middle, and this time I'm going to enter in 125, 125, and 125 just to lighten that up a bit as well. Now you'll notice that I'm doing this on a basis of subtracting 3 from the original number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead now, I'm going to click OK. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to double click here on the white eyedropper, and this time I'm going to type in 252, 252, and 252, subtracting 3 from all of those. So we've kind of push that more towards the neutral gray side, because we don't want anything in the image to be completely white, just pretty close to white. So we'll go ahead now and we'll click OK there as well. Now I don't have to make any adjustments here, so I'm just going to go ahead and click OK, and it's going to ask me if I want to save the new target defaults for these colors. And yes, I do. I want that to be the case each and every time, so that when I'm color correcting images, I don't have to go in and do those changes each and every time. So I'll go ahead and say yes to that. It's going to commit to those changes, and then it's going to add that new curves adjustment layer. Well, since I didn't make any changes in tonality, I can go ahead and throw that away because I don't need it anymore, and curves will automatically recognize those settings next time I use it. And so now that we've got all of that set up in the curves dialog box, let's go ahead and we'll close this image here. I'm going to say no, I don't want to save those changes, and I'm going to go ahead and open up greenguysmile.jpg. And what we want to do is we want to take this image and we want to go ahead and color correct this image using this new curve setup that we just created. So the first thing we need to do is we need to determine exactly where our white and black points are in this image, and to do that it's very, very simple. I'm going to come down here to the adjustment layer icon, this time choosing threshold. And once I'm inside the threshold dialog box, let me move this out of the way so you can see the image here. You're going to notice that your image looks really, really bad when you first get into the threshold dialog box. And what you want to do is you want to start pushing your slider over here to the left. And once you start pushing it to the left, you're going to notice that it goes almost completely white as you get over to the left edge. Now, once it goes completely white, once you see no traces of black whatsoever, go ahead then and start tapping on the up arrow key on your keyboard. And once you do that, you should be able to bring back some subtle areas of black into this image. Now, these are going to be the darkest portions of your image. So this is where you need to set your black point. So bring over your color sampler here and just hold down your shift key and just shift click right on top of one of these dark areas. And that's going to set a reference point right there that we're going to use in just a moment. Now, we're also going to push the slider over to the right hand side, and as we do that, your image should start to go completely black. And then once we get all the way over to the edge here, the only traces of white that should be left are going to be the lightest portions of your image. So go ahead then, find one of these portions of your image here that are the lightest portion, and then shift click right there to set another reference point. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to click cancel here, because we don't need that threshold adjustment layer anymore, but we do need those reference points, and those are still there for us. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come back down here. This time we're going to choose the adjustment layer icon, and we're going to come all the way up and select curves. Now, once we're inside the curves dialog box, remember that it's going to remember those settings that we plugged in, and we're going to select the black eyedropper tool first. And if you went ahead earlier in your preferences and set up that precise cursor that I was talking about, you should already have this little crosshair when you move over into the image window. If you did not set that preference up, go ahead now and hit the caps lock key on your keyboard, and you will automatically invoke that little crosshair there. And then take it over here and line it up with that reference point that we set here on the image. Once you have these 2 points perfectly aligned with one another, it should automatically disappear, so you won't see the crosshairs anymore. Once they disappear, that's exactly where you need to click, so go ahead then, click once to set that point. Now we're going to go ahead and set the white point as well. So we'll grab the white eyedropper tool, and this time we're going to bring it over. We'll line it up exactly where the other crosshair is, and once we do that, those should disappear. And we'll go ahead and click once to set that white point. That was already the whitest point of the image, so that's totally okay. And so now what we've effectively done is we've color corrected this file here. And if I show you here, here's before and here's after. So we've effectively set those white and black points. We've deepened up those darker areas. We've even removed some of the greenish cast from his face. Now we would have to go in and adjust some of the color cast here using either the variations command or maybe even that match color. But what we have done here is effectively color corrected and gotten the correct tonal values for this image. So this is an effective way to easily find those white and black points in your image each and every time using the curves dialog box and then that nice little threshold adjustment layer trick. So if I click OK, there we have our color corrected image, and the best part is we use this as an adjustment layer, so anytime we need to go back in and correct those settings or alter those settings at all, we can just double click on those, make our edits, click OK, and we're right back to editing this file.